Hello my friends and welcome back to the Kelp Forest. Now this is the map of Subnautica, and to prevent players from leaving it, it is surrounded by the Void, a crushingly deep abyss that stretches seemingly out to infinity, filled with things that want to eat you very fast and very painfully. But it isn't actually endless, is it? In fact, if you go out about 8,192 meters from the center of the map, you will be teleported back to the safe shallows. We've already tried if it is possible to reach this vertically in a different video, and we managed it. So today we're asking the question of, is it possible to reach this level horizontally? Well, let's find out. Now it all began with some experimenting, and also something I would like to describe as the random void distance. Let me explain. The way the void works is pretty simple. When you leave the boundary of the final biome on the edge, you enter the void biome, as you can see here with the print biome command, and a ghost leviathan will shortly spawn. Then another about 40 seconds later, and another after that, to a maximum number of 3. If you kill these, eventually they will respawn again. Now, the void biome, however, does not stretch all the way to the 8-kilometer mark. In fact, it randomly stretches to different distances based on my testing. I am not sure what causes this, but we're just gonna roll with it. Now, what happens when this biome ends, technically? Well, we'll get to that later. But in my testing, let's just say things were not going super smoothly. I was trying to stasis rifle the ghosts, and my aim could use some work. So with that done, it was time to jump in, start a new game of survival, and get this done. Now at the start, everything began pretty much the same as always. I exited the life pod and went about gathering some resources. A quick trip to the kelp forest, and I had me a knife. A tiny bit of gathering, and I was also able to make the scanner. This would come in very handy. Oh yeah, and I managed to squeeze out an O2 tank as well for good measure. Now with some silicone rubber, I was able to make a pair of fins that would make exploration easier. And soon after that, I also got an air bladder. Now you might be wondering what this is for, and it is simply so that I can very quickly surface while out and about and exploring. It is actually super useful now. Started scanning some sea glide fragments. This would be our main tools of moving around and completing the challenge. Man, it's always so nice to be in this world, I swear. Subnautica is just such a vibe to play. And then I made myself a high-capacity O2 tank, which would yet again make exploration much easier. This is also the highest tier of tank we really need to go to. I quickly built myself the repair tool. This is so that I can fix the life pod and also potentially explore some more wrecks. And then I finally got the Sea Glide blueprint synthesized. I don't really think we're gonna need any more vehicles for this challenge. Helpfully enough, I was even able to start finding some laser cutter fragments. These would yet again be super handy when exploring more wrecks. And I mean, I got a scan for the sea moth here, but like I said, we wouldn't really be needing it. And here you can see the air bladder in action. This thing really is handy. I was finally able to get the last scan for the laser cutter fragment, getting PTSD from those biters in my death run challenge, which don't worry, that one is coming too. I then made myself the rebreather, just so that I could dive to deeper depths. And the laser cutter and the sea glide would be next. The sea glide was pretty quick to come along after. I swear the game is so freaking easy to play when you're not running the death run mod. I got the final scan for the sea moth here. Again, I was quite undecided as to whether I would build it or not, and I started exploring some wrecks. Went back to this mushroom forest. If you watched my original death run, you probably have PTSD from this one, but I know it like the back of my hand now, so it was really cool to explore again. And it is a very handy place to get diamonds and lithium. With everything in place, I was able to build the laser cutter. I then stumbled onto life pod 13 kind of by accident, and got the ultra glide fins, which are something that I will want later down the run. I decided to explore this wreck in the mushroom forest, where I would get fragments for the modification station that would be necessary for those fins. And then to get my hands on the stasis rifle, I decided to go to the bulb zone and dive to the wreck there. Now, as per usual, I was severely under-equipped for this, but you know, that's just how we roll. So there I went, 200 meters deep into the wreck, got the final scan for the modification station, which was awesome. and even found the entire stasis rifle blueprint, which was super nice. Something weird happened with the ship, can't really put my finger on exactly what. I then built myself the habitat builder so that I can build the modification station, built a small compartment, and with a hatch and a solar panel, it was ready to be used. Inside, I managed to build the modification station, and with some resources I already had on me, I made myself the Ultra Glide fins. This is simply so that I would be faster at swimming and dodging ghost leviathans. It was then time for the final piece of the puzzle, the magnetite that you can find in the purple mushroom caves. It is a deep dive, and you should definitely be worried about the crab snakes down there, but luckily I was able to get my 2 pieces and get out unscathed. With that, I built myself some more sustenance and deposited everything I would not need into the locker in the life pod. Now here, as I get ready for my final attempt, let's talk about what happens after the void biome. So once you swim a certain distance away from the edge of the map, you will enter what the game kind of refers to as true void. This is where the game will actually no longer print out a biome name. You're effectively not in the void anymore, it is just nothing. But because you're not in the void biome, this means the ghost leviathans will turn around and swim away. Now this, while terrifying, for us acts as a safe zone. If I can make it to this place, that means we're effectively safe. Now, like I said, in my experimenting, how far this is from the edge of the map seemed to vary strangely, and also the command would occasionally print weird stuff. So I'm not super sure how reliable it is. Let's just assume that we aren't safe until the ghosts turn around. Regardless, with that, I had the entirety of my equipment. You can see it all here. Some spare batteries, a bunch of first aid kits if I get bitten, and I'm ready to roll. I set out in the middle of the night so I would reach the void edge in the morning. Decided to swim around the floating island since I thought it was kind of fun. I think many of us for the first time stumbled into the void when looking for this island and missing it, so I figured why not go this way and see if we can make it to the very edge. And with a beautiful sunrise, you can see me reaching the 2 beacons which I set here so that we can visualize how far I have to swim. It's actually not that bad at all. In this particular place, it seems that the true void begins about 600 meters away from the void edge. So as soon as I pass this beacon, ghost leviathans are about to spawn, and I have to get 620 meters away to survive. I reloaded the battery, and with one last deep breath, it was time to go. And I set off. Right off the bat, I know that the ghost will spawn quickly, so I'm trying to cover as much distance as possible, constantly looking down and listening for their screech, which means that one of them has spawned in. Here I notice the silhouette of one. Pulling out the stasis rifle, and with some practice aim, I'm able to hit it. Now here you can see me actually waiting, charging up a bigger bubble, and then shooting it again. This would give me more time to swim away before the initial bubble disappears and I have to deal with that ghost. Now I'm covering distance super quickly. It's actually looking really nice. I keep looking around because I know the new ghost will spawn very soon. The one in the back is probably free now, so I have to keep moving fast. And here I quickly notice the second one, and luckily I'm able to hit it again. I repeat the same strategy, swimming through the bubble, hoping the ghost behind me gets caught in it as well. And then luckily, after a couple of very stressful seconds, I'm able to enter what I think is the safe zone. Now you can see me waiting here just to make sure that the ghosts do actually turn around. I'm still really nervously looking around to make sure another one doesn't spawn. But yes, the ghost does in fact turn around here, and I'm free to keep swimming. Now you can see me swimming backwards here because I don't really trust the safety yet. The thing is, after you pass a certain distance, the game does get kind of weird. Occasionally it will actually loop through all of the previous biomes, so I was at all times worrying that we might get into another small stretch of the void, quote unquote, and I would just out of nowhere get munched on by a ghost leviathan. But from here on begins the long swim. I mean, after all, I have about 8 kilometers to go from the middle of the map. At a certain point, all of my markers get so blended together that telling how far I am becomes almost impossible. While swimming, I kept focusing on keeping the icons right around the center of my screen, either at the top or at the bottom, which would mean that I'm kind of swimming in a straight line and not making a huge circle around the map. I have to say, even when I know that no ghost leviathans are spawning, it is still a freaky place to swim to, knowing there are thousands of meters of nothing under my feet and just a blue void all around. It's a creepy place to be, I'm not gonna lie. And then the sun started setting on me. I made a small break for some nutrients and some water. And finally, in the dead of night, after about 15 minutes of swimming, I finally teleported back and landed in the safe shallows. So yes, my friends, it is very possible to reach the edge of the void in survival if you swim horizontally. Now, a couple of quick disclaimers. In my testing, I found a place where, for example, the safety edge was about 2.5 kilometers from the edge of the map, which, if that happens to be the case, the swim would be much more difficult. If you guys want to replicate this yourself, there are probably ways to make it quite a bit easier. Of course, in a Seamoth, you are way faster, and if you're okay with sacrificing it, it might even be worth bringing one. On top of that, with an air bladder, you actually surface faster than ghost leviathans swim. So it would also be possible to fling yourself into the void with a prawn suit, get a couple thousand meters deep, and then surface back up quickly with air bladders, which could possibly give you a bit of a heads up on the ghosts. Now, I know what you're all gonna say, let's see the full run. Before we jump into that, I just want to mention that we have memberships now. If you guys want to support the channel, the link to join is down next to the subscribe button. But anyway, here's the run as I read off all of our amazing members. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you enjoy. A huge thank you to MR, Squigs, Godzilla, R. Robertson, Yusuf, OGB, Master Ugwe, Cody the Bumboy, Crayenda, Sander, Kronos, and Silver Soul. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. It means the absolute world to me. And thank you all so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. And with that, I'm going to wish you all a beautiful rest of the day. And I'll see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.